am Samir Kuckreja. I am founder and CEO of Tasanaya Hospitality. First job was 2 weeks dishwashing, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for people to use tech both to drive their top line.
Coffee cups and cigarettes laying around the room. I don't mind a little mess, just wanna stay with you, and we'll do anything that we want today. Won't be scared of falling down no more.
So hi Samir, welcome to the Ask Kavi Arya show. Thank you for making an early. I think this is one of the only 8 a.m. interviews that I'm doing, and you said it's almost half day for you because you have a morning ritual which allows you to win in life, which is that you get up at 5 o'clock.
That's right. Yeah, I'm an early bird here. Weekdays is up at 5. I use my morning time. I find it very peaceful. The rest of the house is asleep.
Right.
I like listening to both Indian and Western classical music.
Right.
For the first, and which then kind of moves into jazz when I'm doing email. I catch up on the previous day's newspapers, which I haven't read fully. I catch up on WhatsApping friends kind of across the world, reading online, and then
It's your time.
Absolutely my time. I also use it to exercise.
Okay.
So I run about 5 km 4 days to 5 days a week.
Oh, nice.
And I run outdoors. So depending on the weather in Delhi, I either run really early at about 6:30 in the hot summer or about 8 o'clock in winter. And I also use it for about a 45-minute to an hour kind of email time,
Right.
which is kind of quiet time. So yeah, so by the time I leave the house at 9:30, a lot of work is already done for the day.
Oh, lovely. So, they say mostly, whatever book you read or anybody you meet, they say the ritual sets a man apart from everybody else. So this ritual has been with you for a long time and it served you in life?
Long time, yeah. I think not, I'd say for the last 20 years, at least 15, 20 years.
Okay.
Last 15, 20 years. Not my entire working life, but for the last, 15, 20
You're saying when you were growing up as a teenager or somebody in college, you were one of those people who needed to be woken up. You were not a disciplined person who got up at
No, yeah. When I was in college, I needed an alarm to wake up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. College was very different. When at Cornell, a hotel school where I went, I remember having to set alarms to wake up for the classes.
Right.
So this is kind of, I think, last 20 years back in India. Somewhere along the way it happened. So actually my father has the same routine. He's 83 and plays golf early morning 5 days a week even today.
Oh, wow.
So somewhere along the way, I guess it's in the genes. Suddenly I don't suddenly happened.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I'm sure your kids will someday also find this trait in their genes.
Not as yet, but they're college going and need to be shook out of bed and sent to class. So
I know that. I've got 2 girls myself. I know what you're saying. Okay, so what you've been in the restaurant space, and now the restaurant space is not restaurant alone, it's restaurant and food tech and all of that.
Yeah.
Start, deep dive and first start with, how have you seen in the last, say, 3 to 5 years, the industry changing, with tech coming in?
So the industry, so I have to say, yeah, my kind of tech expertise got really developed when I started consulting in August 2012. After I had finished my stint as CEO of Nirula's.
Okay.
While there was tech in 2000, before that it was very limited tech in the overall industry till 2012. So I have consulted with 6 different hospitality tech companies. Various from table reservation, and a lot of these are companies based based internationally, out of Singapore and other parts of the world, who were trying to get into India or enter the Indian market. So I've done companies which do table reservations. I've done companies which do kind of CRM, consumer feedback focus. I have helped a startup which was at one stage aggregating feedback on social media on different platforms for clients and putting it together as a dashboard. I of course did a very intense 6-month on-site consulting stint with Zomato on all areas of their business. And so I've therefore I guess developed a unique understanding of the tech from the guys trying to provide interesting solutions.
Right.
As a hardcore operator who's operated for 22 years before consulting, I definitely understand the other side.
Sure.
which is that tech is important. Uh, Tech adoption is very low in India. Even today, penetration and adoption, especially in restaurants, and in my view, even in hotels.
Is it a mindset? Is it a cost
No,
issue?
not a mindset. I think people are getting around to it. So one thing I laughed and said was that, if I look at the leading restaurant companies in India, the average age of the CEOs slash promoters is 45 to 60.
Right.
Okay. Now, unlike someone like me who understands tech, and also I've done this short, 9-month full-time stint at Zomato in 2017.
Right.
So I think kind of worked in a tech company. A lot of people don't get tech.
I understand.
I mean, I'm shocked at the number of CEOs who I know, like we work together on the Restaurant Association of India. They're not even still on Twitter.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you don't use it, so if you don't use Twitter, you don't use Insta, and you're not active on Facebook and LinkedIn, how the hell are you going to understand how to market your brand on
Of
it?
course. So you're scared of something that you don't know. It's fear of the unknown then.
Yeah, so I know guys who are just scared, and I know people who have handles which are handled by an agency.
Right.
Right? I won't tell you names, but you'd be shocked at the number of followers there, and they don't ever tweet themselves.
Right.
Right? So that's one. I don't think there's any. And the other thing is that it's very confusing today. And I also do consulting on the other side, where I advise clients on what tech to use.
Sure.
Right. So if you want to do table reservations in India, there are 5 platforms offering you stuff.
Right.
Right. If you want to do CRM and loyalty, and then to understand which is the better platform, which will really drive ROI on that marketing spend, it is confusing.
Right.
So I think part of the reason of the adoption is there's not enough on the mark, and that's a lot of the time when I work with the tech companies. I worked on kind of refining, like I did with Zomato. I spent weeks with them redefining the way the advertising page worked and the advertising, what do you call, pockets they had on their web and the mobile, right?
Sure.
What are the banners, how they worked, and we redesigned it. And then also we redesigned the ROI calculation for clients.
Sure.
And when we did that and went back, it was a huge success because for the first time there was an ROI report.
Right.
Clients saw that, hey, these are clicks, these clicks are landing on this page. And, then you can start summarizing, okay, out of that, how many people visit?
Of course.
Right? So I think there's also an opportunity in India on both sides. On the side of the tech companies positioning their solutions with a very ROI focused approach.
Sure.
And not just saying you need a loyalty solution.
Right.
This is the loyalty solution, this is what you'll spend, and this is how you're going to get more business.
Right.
Because eventually it has to lead to either new customer acquisition or it has to lead to increased frequency of visits by existing customers.
Sure.
Or lastly, if you can encourage and, what do you call, focus consumers on different things, you can increase the way they spend money when they walk in.
I understand.
So if you have the right kind of tech using upselling methods to sell the right bottle of wine, that will help your APC.
But and I totally agree with you. This 45 to 60. In fact, when my sales team talks about a hot lead and we do a sales review, one of the columns that we have is the age of the decision.
Yeah.
Because that shows everything about how long the sales cycle is going to be.
But yeah, on the other side, there are some very tech savvy CEOs. So Rahul Singh of Bear Cafe understands tech inside out.
Sure.
Uses an amazing amount of tech to run his restaurants and to market his restaurants very successfully.
Which is great.
He's probably one of the most tech savvy, and even these guys from Chayos, Nitin and Raghav.
Right.
So some of the younger entrepreneurs in the brands are really tech savvy.
Right. But when it comes, so for the rest of them, which is the largest share of the market, what should the association do, the FHRAI, what training or more,
So what NRI is going to do is do more training.
Right.
So in the sense that we're going to be holding, in fact, they've asked me to lead this whole, I am in charge of training for NRI for the next year or so.
Right.
So we're looking at doing specific seminars where we get experts in and actually just do training.
Sure.
So get that awareness up, right?
Right.
And this is awareness on, not the because today I think table reservations and all the choices people have got, right?
Sure.
But if you're going to do consumer analytics, if you're doing loyalty, what is the composition of a good loyalty program globally? Which there are a few F&B examples globally.
Right.
which are, so, really to benchmark international examples
Of course.
and say, here's Starbucks US, it's got an amazing loyalty program, this is what it's done.
Right.
Right? So giving best of case examples globally.
Yeah.
So the idea is to do some kind of education training and also then give at all the exhibitions and conferences. So this week is this in India Food Forum in Mumbai,
Mm-hmm.
where there's a 3-day thing, and they've actually introduced a whole separate tech sub-segment of the conference,
Sure.
which is focusing just on technology
So things are changing.
solutions. Yeah, so the idea is to get it more to the forefront in all industry conferences.
Right.
I have often moderated panel discussions on tech at these conferences. I'm moderating two discussions this time, but not on tech.
I think that's one of the times we met when you were moderating and I was talking on a similar subject for hotels.
That's right. Yeah. But you need to do more of that, and you need to do it like NRI is trying to do, which is just getting in a bunch of CEOs.
Exactly.
CEOs, GMs, owners into the room and making them spend 4 hours and covering different topics in a very kind of classroom kind of way.
That has been these are like one of the dreams that I see when somebody sees my to-do list, and one of the things that I want should happen is exactly what you said. Decision makers captive for at least half a day with no phone for their own good. Eventually they come out feeling enlightened.
So I can tell you an example. It was hilarious. So this was 2012 December, and there was a food forum in Mumbai. And there was a damn early morning 9 to 11 a.m. social media class.
Okay.
By a lady. She's very good. She used to come in, Images used to bring her in every year. Right? So she was from one of the Nordic countries. And she had decided 9 a.m. and it was fitting into the schedule. It was like a master class. I was shocked. It was a small, about 50, 60. The room was packed.
Oh, was it? Okay, wow.
The people there were CEOs there. I came for it to attend it. And there were CEOs there, and I was shocked. And one guy said, "Why?" They said, "We have no clue on what the hell is going on." And she was really good. It was a real good, it was like an ABC year.
Sure.
But 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Right.
But so there is appetite there. But there's not enough content and there's not enough quality teaching going on. That's the gap. It's a big. So NRI is trying to bridge it this year by doing 2, 3. In fact, we're doing one in Delhi, one in Bombay, one in Bangalore.
Right.
Which I am kind of putting together in the next few months.
Lovely. So what? When it comes to feel free to name any tool that you worked with, your table reservation, Zomato, whatever, and tell us which. So a standalone restaurant. Let's talk about put it separately. So a standalone restaurant opens in Goa, and amongst hundreds of other restaurants, the food is good and all of that, and they've got what is the first tier that you would recommend that they get into in terms of tech?
So the first tier of advertising when you open a new restaurant in India, I largely recommend Zomato.
Okay.
So people advertise on 3 things. One is you set up a basic Facebook page.
Sure.
You set up and you look at Facebook. You do some basic Google analytics. And I don't even think as a one restaurateur you need a website. It's not a big deal. I mean, when you reach 3, 4 and there's some scale.
Sure.
But today it's Zomato, and then also making sure that your reputation and whatever on TripAdvisor and your content is correct.
Sure.
Because people do look at TripAdvisor.
100%.
But Zomato is the go-to site for new restaurants or what's there. So then also to make sure that your food shots, you invest in your food photography. It looks good. Make sure that you control and give Zomato the content. They today allow you to change your basic content of your page, right, without any payment. And then looking at, depending on the city you are and the segment you are, taking some advertising with them.
Right.
That's the kind of most cost-effective way to get off the ground.
What about the likes of Easy Diners and all of the other ones?
So Easy Diner is strong and works only in a few cities.
Okay.
It does. So Easy Diner is good. What's it called? Dine Out is also good.
Dine Out, yeah.
Both, I'd say Easy Diner and Dine Out are the biggest for table reservations, but they both work in a limited number of cities. You were just mentioning example of Goa. Neither of them would work in Goa.
Sure. So when it comes to like a hotel opens, whenever a hotel opens, the first thing we do is that we speak to Make My Trip, Goa, Expedia, all of them, and we get them listed. We get the right, pictures, everything right. So the same is done for restaurants with the likes of.
Yeah, but across here, luckily, it's only really largely needs to be done across TripAdvisor, Zomato, and of course your own social media presence, which is your Facebook. You don't have to go to all these, the hotel, But OTA sites don't really focus on restaurants.
Sure. No, so like we do for restaurants with OTA sites, we do with Dine Out and all for restaurants. Now,
I'm sure.
There's an example. It's a couple of restaurants. I don't know the exact name, but working with some of these restaurants, and what we did was that they wanted low. So Facebook now allows you to target like a sniper. You can pretty much do everything.
Yeah. So I know.
So
Focused on.
local targeting was done for people in and around. So about 11:30 when people start getting, or 12:30 people start getting hunger pangs, so they want to eat. And so ads were popping up on their phone saying that, half a kilometer away from you, you're getting this deal for the next 20 minutes, but provided you get one more person with you. So when
Yeah.
they would show their phone, so it worked very well. So that was one. The other thing was, like you said, TripAdvisor definitely helps. Your rates, your listing, and all of that definitely helps. Your Facebook ads to be able to promote, especially for hotels which have restaurants inside, they have a huge database. And overseas, I've seen a lot of Starwood hotels. They've got apps and they've got messages, and both work. So there's a personal assistant that comes up on the phone and he says, "Good afternoon, good evening, 5 o'clock, Samir, would you like a beer?" And if you order beer once, the next time you come, they're automatically going to make sure that you get your preferred beer that you want. So when we've seen, right now we work with about 400-500, different outlets in different parts, and we see a lot of success happening. I'm sure, like with an amazing experience with Zomato and all of that you've gathered over the years, I'm sure you've seen a lot of things that work. But
Yeah. True.
why is it that once something is working, that formula doesn't go mass and everybody starts doing it?
So mass, you see, so there is what happens in the restaurant space in India. There's a lot of it is referral. We are very networked as a community.
Right.
About 30 of us, there are 30 CEOs involved in the restaurant association.
Right.
And we have a WhatsApp group. So a lot of checking happens on a group informally with each other.
Right.
There are actually like that city groups in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore,
Sure.
which have 150, 200 restaurants on it.
Right.
Okay. So it is growing. I mean, I'd say in the last 5 years, tech adoption has improved a lot. There's no study or data to quantify it.
Right.
But if you just look at the advertising on Zomato, it's grown so much.
Okay.
If you look at how Easy Dine and Dine Out have grown, right, in terms of the number of diners they seat.
Sure.
Those are all matrices and data points which show that there is a trend of, increasing trend of usage of digital and social. And today, if you look, except for the big multinational QSR chains, no one advertises on TV and newspaper.
Of course.
It is all, some people still use radio.
Right.
Because it's an effective medium in India. But in most of the advertising is social and digital. All the spends have also moved.
Right. Great. So that's obviously your first-hand experience seeing the numbers growing.
I would say the numbers I've seen the numbers in Zomato
Right.
closely. I know how it's grown exponentially. I'm also right now doing some consulting work for Dine Out.
Yeah. So that's great to know. So if Samir, if right now this show is being watched by a young entrepreneur who's getting into restaurants or he's gotten into restaurants, how much do you think he should focus on the tech side of it? Because eventually it has to have X coming from tech, and then everything else comes from.
You need to first focus on the basics.
Right.
Which means if you've got something already set up, the two basic reasons people come to you, or three reasons globally, is the quality of your food,
right,
the way it's presented, the quality of your service, and that service experience, and whether it's a QSR or a casual or fine, there's always a service experience, and the ambience that you're providing, along with an overall kind of value for money equation in the consumer mind. So you have to focus on the basics, but you have to use tech for both. You can use tech today, absolutely for driving, like I said, new customer acquisition, increased frequency, increased spending, and very importantly, which I think a lot of people, that's still an opportunity, is use tech at the back end for optimizing costs. So to understand analyze your business, your food cost, your menu analysis, your staff productivity, there's a lot of tech tools out there.
Right.
Which can help you optimize your cost structures.
So
all the revenue that you're doing.
You say that tech is not a division in the restaurant?
No, it's something you live with. You got to use it all the time. It's not a division. It's you have to use it, one in the front end and be at the back end.
Right. Okay. So when it comes to so is there any difference when you're marketing restaurants and you're consulting with them? Is there a different piece of advice that you give to a standalone restaurant versus one with a hotel? And what kind would they be?
Absolutely. I think there's three. There's this kind of standalone small, someone who runs 1 to 3, 4 restaurants.
Right.
Then there are the mid-sized guys running between 15 to 30. And then, there are larger chains. So, each one is different, and the ones in hotels are also different. So right now I have a discussion going on for a consulting project with one of the leading kind of mid-market hotel chains in India,
Right.
and that's because they've kind of finally realized that their F&B is way under optimized in terms of just top line.
And this,
They have some hotels in very prime locations where they should be getting business from outside,
right.
but 80-85% of the F&B business is in-house guests. They don't get any outside guests.
And the potential is limitless sometimes you feel, because when you feel you're making a hotel and you're watching 100 rooms, there has to be a cap somewhere. You made an
Yeah.
80% occupancy and you can't charge more than and it's done. But a restaurant sometimes can be
Yeah.
huge.
So I know a hotelier, and he's again a mid-market hotelier. And the other day, I was having coffee with him, and he said, "I'm focusing on building large banquet spaces in every hotel."
Yeah,
I
I
said,
know.
"Why?" He said, "Damn, it is such a good, uh, margin generator
100%.
business,
The wedding.
and it's people in India still want to do these functions in hotels.
Right.
It's the old cultural thing, right?
So,
शादी कराई तो इस होटल में कराई थी.
uh,
Yeah, Mundan ceremony was in this hotel, or Roka ceremony. So this is the guy who I was shocked. His team is focusing on all these functions: Shadi, Roka, engagement, Mundans, birthdays.
very interesting. So, we tell me, you said, you mentioned beer cafe, you mentioned chayos and all of that.
Yeah.
You see in the coming days, all of these guys coming together, like Radisson has chayos all over, or Starwoods or any other Hiltons have the beer cafes coming in, because hoteliers are not very good at every aspect of running the hotel. So will they start giving it to experts and you'll say, this kind of thing?
I'm seeing that trend. So, Ginger has done it for many years.
Okay.
Taj budget chain, they outsourced the F&B, two different brands across India.
Right.
That's again budget, but they have cafe coffee days and those kind of brands in some of their hotels. I have seen a smattering of it. Beyond that, very little. I have had, but in recent discussions with hoteliers, see, eventually, first thing is the hotelier has to agree that someone else will do the F&B better than he does.
Okay.
But that's not easy, right?
Okay.
But I think, and restaurateurs are very happy to do this.
Sure, I'm sure.
Because you're getting, it's a big advantage being in a hotel. You get a lot of the capex, you're getting a ready space. The capex cost is less. There's already some captive business you get from the hotel guests, right? If the hotel will, no hotel. So I don't think hotels will give up doing F&B. They'll always keep banquets and, kind of room service and the basic breakfast operation going, because that's where the money is made and that's essential. But most hotels have multiple F&B spaces. So I definitely do hope, and I do see a trend like this coming. It'll take a while to get where the US is,
right,
where a lot of F&B is outsourced in Canada, at hotels. But I think we're starting to see signs in I'd say the mid-market hotel space, 3-4 star, not the luxury space.
Right. So Samir, so in 2018 and going beyond, so you meet so many people, and you see. So I'm sure you meet a lot of people who are coming up with concepts which they feel are novel, and you might be saying it, tried, done and dusted with. So if today somebody would, to pick your brain, what advice would you give to budding, restaurants?
One advice: I'm a very atypical consultant. I've lost a lot of potential business by sending potential restaurateurs back to their whatever the hell they were doing. Because when they come, I ask a few questions if they're a first-time restaurateur, whatever age they are. And if they don't answer a few questions correctly, I just say, forget it. Don't even waste your time and money. Don't get into this business. So a lot of them, this glamorous perception of it, have no idea on the reality. B, I wanting to enter a segment where there's not enough opportunity, or do a concept which doesn't really not going to rock. So I, do that. For me, I try and put in those checks for themselves and make them answer some hard questions.
Sure.
If they meet those boxes and they go ahead, and then they are enough like that. So I have a very interesting client. His name is Samir Kuckreja. He runs 2 veg Satvik restaurants, one in Katra and one in Shildi.
Oh wow.
And his family's always been in the consumer finance business in Jammu.
Okay.
Okay. Now his restaurants are doing so well that he's kind of virtually does very little work on the finance business. And I'm working with him on setting up something interesting in the home delivery space in the big cities.
Right.
Right. So, he is the right guy. He's kind of given it 4-5 years. He's given it time. He's nurtured a brand, built it very passionately. I had a very clear vision of what he wanted to do. Right. So I think you have to have some checks. You have to have a very clear vision. You have to be intensely passionate about this business.
It
You
should
have to
not be
be,
a second business or side business or whatever. You would.
yeah. I can't. Yeah, it needs to occupy your mind, soul, time,
Right.
and you or your wives or whoever is
Mm.
going to be promoting it. It
Right.
doesn't have to be. And you have to give it the required capital and time,
Mm.
because initially all these businesses lose money,
Right.
mostly.
Right.
The first 6, 8 months is a working capital requirement. There's normally a operating loss in the business. And we have to be very, you generally, I think, need to be a creative person to be a successful restaurateur,
Right.
because you need to constantly innovate and create around menu, around experience, around, variety of things,
Mm.
entertainment, events,
Right. So today's so,
those.
so today's day and age, there are models also like Priyansh. I'm forgetting his name, Priyansh or Priyanshu.
Priyank Sukhija.
Priyank Kuckreja. I've not met the gentleman, but I've heard there are many models across the country where there's a successful person who says, "I'll run it for you. You let me be
Yeah,
the."
absolutely. Yeah.
So if I have a space, if I have a good space, and I'm not necessarily wanting to lose, 5 years of
No,
my
so
life.
today, yeah, there are like Priyank, a few operators who will take your space, but will also want you to invest the capex,
Right.
but will create the concept and run it. Yeah, absolutely. There are 2, 3 of them across
Right.
India who are
Right.
doing this fairly successfully.
Yeah. So
Hmm?
the chances of winning are higher with people who already,
Absolutely, I would again. So so often sometimes people say, should we take a franchise? And I'm like, if you really don't want to run something full time, you want to do this just as an investment,
hmm,
right? Then take a franchise of a good brand,
right.
because then someone else has got the headache of generating the business, etc.
Right.
And if somebody else has been doing it for a while, so if you should really only get into creating your own concept,
Hmm.
if you're really creative, have a passion, and really want to do it. Otherwise, there are various ways you can give your space to one of these called larger restaurant operators who take the
So,
space and put in a concept, or you could just give it to a brand who would take it and
right.
the franchisee out.
Samir, is there a specific return on money invested that people look for?
Yeah, so the range and what I recommend always. So it depends. If you're doing a small kind of format cafe kiosk, you should be looking at getting your capital back, a return on capital within 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
And if you're doing a larger casual dining restaurant bar, it ranges from 2.5 to 3, 3.5 years.
Hmm. Right.
That's
And
kind of industry range.
within those 2.5, 3 years, there's another investment round needed because you need to up the experience and the ambience and
Yeah,
all. Yeah. So it's never ending. It's a never ending.
never ending. No, and you have to constantly innovate. The other day, I heard about a restaurant which shut, and someone said, "Oh, why they'll shut?" It was so. I said, "No, it wasn't successful because it hadn't innovated and changed itself."
Hmm.
And apparently, from what I'd heard, his business had declined, where they had to shut down.
Right.
So you can't. No one can sit on their laurels.
Right. Would
So
you?
even a restaurant like Bukhara
Yeah.
is going through declining sales.
Hmm. Oh, is that right?
They haven't reinvented themselves. Their business is down. They'll never admit it.
Right.
But I know this from the horse's mouth.
Sure.
Even what is called India's most iconic restaurant.
Right. Huh. Is there space today to say that, say, I'm younger. I'm young. I've got a partner with me. We're very passionate. Whatever background we've come from, I've checked all the boxes that you asked. You said you asked a certain amount of
Yeah.
questions, and I've checked in all those boxes. But I'm. Is there a mindset which allows me to say I don't want to get into any physical location? I'm going to have a restaurant and it's only for delivery, but it's a restaurant on the cloud. So whatever you want, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, so there's a growing segment. It's called the virtual kitchen segment.
Right.
So, Inner Chef. So there are some big boys in it, Fresh Menu, Inner Chef, etc., multi-city kind of players. And there are in every city many interesting players
Right.
operating 5, 10, 15, 20 locations. You can never visit them.
Huh.
There's no brand engagement.
Right.
The only brand engagement is social and digital.
Yeah. And so
But they do damn good, and some of these guys do good casual dining kind of pricing food, but all delivery, home and office.
Are you able to charge? So can I do a Bukhara online
So
only?
Bukhara online, no, but there are. So the average kind of, if you look at the statistics put out by Zomato and Swiggy on their average, kind of, I think Zomato's average delivery orders 350, Swiggy is a little lower. But there are enough players in cities, big cities, who are managing to charge 700 to 1,000,
Or
but not beyond 1,000. I have not heard of any brand which is.
okay,
So, either casual, I haven't heard of any fine dining brand doing delivery,
right.
honestly. No. Casual dining, yes, but that's up to 1,000. No one's going to pay more than $1,000 for a
Understood.
home delivered meal. That, separately, if you want a really special experience, you'd call in a caterer, even if you have 20 people, right?
Sure.
And you'd pay per head,
Right.
which would be higher.
Right. So maybe this guy who's charging 1,000 rupees for this casual dining, he can up his experience by saying somebody will come, put in a nice
Yeah,
package.
all that stuff. Yeah, yeah. So they do very fancy packaging. Some of them send waiters to set up the food at the house.
That's already happening.
That little bit of stuff is starting to happen. Some guys are trying to do this. I haven't tried one of them, is it? But I've heard very little, very small. But just up packaging, high ingredients. Therefore, so you can get Pan Asian Chinese, 20 brands for 300 to 400 to $50
Lovely.
on a delivery. But there are a few brands successfully operating in that 600 to 1,000 rupee bracket.
So Samir, you and I are both consultants. We meet a lot of people. Sometimes I'm sure at least I feel I get inspired by seeing new mindsets, new ideas coming.
Absolutely.
I'm banging my head thinking, why are people not changing? So both kind of things happen. So today, with all that experience that you have, and if you were to give three or two ideas on these things look promising, what would they be?
So, yes, I think I'll talk about segments in the Indian F&B space, which I feel still have tremendous opportunity.
Okay.
Okay. So I think kind of Indian QSR of different types is still a very under-tapped opportunity,
Okay.
under-penetrated.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, if you look at the Haldirams and Bikaner, they're largely North India based. Haldirams, Bikaner wala, right? Then there's one chain in the west called Kailash Parbat.
Right.
But if you go south, you go east, you go to other small towns even in North India, there's nothing.
Hmm.
Or you look at a Sagar and you
Right.
say South Indian QSR.
Sure.
Sagar has reached 100, but what is 100 when there are 1,200 Domino's?
When there are 1,200?
Domino's.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's a good.
What is 100 Sagars? So I think kind of North Indian, South Indian QSR, I think tremendous opportunity. Create a brand, do stuff around it. I think it's a big opportunity. I still think there are interesting opportunities in the cafe. Cafe means tea, coffee segment.
Hmm.
There's a lot of competition, lots of players, but I still feel so. I think premium, kind of premium, but not totally upmarket like Starbucks, a little lower than that. Both cafe, coffee, and tea, I think they're interesting opportunities.
Hmm.
So I think the fact that Chayos and created a segment. Eventually all the chai, there's so many chai players. A lot of the chai players are focusing on the office and very, volume driven,
Right.
very low price chai thela, chai, whatever. There are a bunch of chai guys, and then there's Chayos and another couple of which have opened cafes.
Hmm.
And this whole segment has sprung up in the last 4 years. There was nothing.
Right.
There was only coffee, right? So I still think tea is very innate to our taste, and if we innovate around tea and tea beverages and nice atmosphere, I think you could do 5 to 800 square feet cafes. I think there's a lot of opportunity there also.
So in these businesses, obviously scale. You need to go a couple of hundred.
You have to go scale. All these two all talking about is all scale. That has to be scaled.
Yeah. So today, an individual owner with one restaurant, and can he? There's no.
No, so those are still good. So it depends on your ambition. Yeah, a lot of people, like I give an example of Ritu Dalmia, one of India's most successful, celebrated chefs, restaurateurs.
Diva.
But she's very happy. She does a catering which is global,
right,
which is very high end and successful. But in terms of restaurants, she's opened 5 or 6 in Delhi, and that's it.
Right.
She hasn't even gone to Bombay and Bangalore.
Sure.
And she doesn't know hurry to and doesn't want to.
Right.
So you can still be small and niche and very successful.
Okay.
You don't have to be multi-city, global, multinational.
Right.
And there are again players like her in Bombay, Bangalore, Pune, very successful local restaurateurs who decide to stay local. So there's a big demand for that also,
Right. And so people are ending up Bombay saying, "Wahan there's root khana khane jana," and that's still right.
Yeah. I mean, there are special concepts which only exist in Bombay.
Sure.
There are restaurants I've been to in Bangalore which are not similar to anything I've seen in India. Some specialty cuisine type. So yeah, I think it's interesting. It doesn't. You don't have to be large and global, especially if you're doing casual or fine dining.
Understood.
Then you can be small and niche.
So visiting all these restaurants, consulting, eating all that kind of cuisine. If you don't do your 5 km,
I'll be in trouble. I'd be different. If I didn't do my 20, 25 km a week, I'd be in big trouble. So.
Yes. Samir, thank you so much for being
welcome.
here for this interview. I'm sure, like I said, the idea is to pick brains of people like yourselves who have who impress us by their rituals, and also I'm sure there are many other rituals in your business place that help you become who you are today. But what I've seen is in my experience on an everyday basis, according to me, business is something that changes a mindsets, be families, and it's not just money. It just changes everything. People come from
Absolutely.
the families, or like you said, people invest everything they have for the next 3-4 years. Even if you come from a moneyed family, you invest so much money. So it's a business doing well, it's good peace of mind. Business not doing well can take peace away from the family as well.
Yeah.
These kind of interviews and these kind of insights are actually help shape people and their journeys further to understand. And I'm very certain once this interview goes live and everybody watches this, I'm sure that there will be some people who change their path and reach the success that they're meant to. So thank you very much. That happened.
That would be a nice outcome. So be happy to have influence people positively. That's always
100%.
nice.
So if people want to reach, if there are restaurateurs who want to reach out to you for your advice and consulting, what's the best email ID or Facebook page?
Email ID is Samir SAMIR dot KUCKREJA at TASANAYA.com.
Perfect. We look forward.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Cheers.
Bye.
Falling down no more. So take me away.